It's Aints week, so if you hate the New Orleans Saints and you want to sweep the Saints, hit the sub button because we are doing a sub battle with our Saints channel here at Chat Sports, and they have a slim 2-sub lead on us, so let's overtake them and let's win on Sunday. Could Bill Belichick be the Atlanta Falcons' next head coach? That's what we're going to talk about on this edition of Falcons Today. Matthew Peterson from Chat Sports here, breaking down a very interesting and juicy report that Josina Anderson tweeted out, and we'll react to it bit by bit because a lot of Josina Anderson's reports, they're very wordy and very long. So let's take it bit by bit here, and let's jump into this story that says Bill Belichick could be on his way to Atlanta. Josina tweeted out this: I'm told there are teams within the NFC South with potential interest in Patriots head coach Bill Belichick, per source. I previously discussed potential explorations with the Chargers below, while the future Hall of Famer has made an indelible mark, winning 6 Super Bowls with Tom Brady. I'm also told there are still recent high-level sentiments within the organization regarding desires to mutually part ways and start anew, per source. My first reaction was Bill Belichick does not leak stuff. And so the fact that Josina Anderson got some level of a scoop that either the NFC South teams, which I love how she said NFC South teams as if there's a whole bunch of them. There's just 4, so don't need to keep it aloof as to who you're talking about. But the big reaction, like I was saying, was Belichick doesn't leak stuff. This is not the Bill Belichick way. He hates talking to the media. It's we're on to Cincinnati. So the fact that Josina Anderson is getting some level of information, to me it signals there might be some truth to Bill Belichick and the Patriots moving on. And so if there is a level of truth to that, I'm not blown away that maybe Bill Belichick wants to test the waters and see what his name brings up as a potential head coaching candidate for some of these teams. And if there are good reactions, maybe he pursues them. Here's some more from Josina. Generally speaking, whenever there's pretending transition, it strategically involves analysis of the market for feedback, guidance, and hopeful assurance of a landing spot, outside of a prospect candidate electing to just take time off. Right now, Belichick has 333 wins on the all-time wins list, including playoffs, 15 behind what's necessary to eclipse Don Shula, leading with 347. League sources have said it's a goal for Belichick to surpass this mark. So let's react to the next part there, because I do think, as, unimportant as passing Don Shula might seem, that could be a major driving factor for Bill Belichick not retiring after being done with the Patriots, but wanting to go to another team and potentially the Atlanta Falcons in the NFC South. Now, the big kicker here is Bill Belichick has been the head coach and de facto GM for as long as time in New England. Wherever he goes, he's going to want personnel decisions. And right now, every single team pretty much in the NFC South has a GM. But then you look at the NFC South teams and you look a little bit closer and you think, which teams would give Bill Belichick the keys to the kingdom? Atlanta Falcons going to, basically remove Terry Fontenot from his GM job and just make him a puppet placer? No. The Carolina Panthers, I could see David Tepper going, Belichick, take the keys to the kingdom, whatever you want to do, it's all yours. But if I'm Bill Belichick, are you going to get 15 more wins with the Carolina Panthers? Bryce Young does not look like the QB that Carolina thought they were getting when they moved heaven and earth to get him first overall. The Panthers' ownership and just overall organization is a bit of a dumpster fire that can't be put out by David Tepper even throwing bottles of water onto it like he does for opposing fans. So the Panthers don't, to me, seem like a very ideal landing spot for Belichick. Then you got the New Orleans Saints and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. 2 teams that I don't think they're going to fire their head coach, right? I think Dennis Allen's probably coming back in New Orleans. I think Todd Bowles is probably coming back in Tampa Bay. So if neither one of those teams fire their head coach and Belichick just throws up at the idea of joining David Tepper in Carolina and having Bryce Young be his next quarterback, Atlanta, there's only 4 teams in the division, would be the most logical destination for Belichick, especially when you factor in you're going to have potentially a top 10 draft pick with a loaded QB class like Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, even Michael Penix, Adam Bijan, and Drake London. Belichick might go, there might not be a whole lot of great options out there, but that's a pretty darn good option. So, with all that being said, I know it's Bill Belichick, 6-time Super Bowl winning head coach. Real talk. Do we want him? Like, I never thought those words would ever come out of my mouth. But do Falcons fans want Bill Belichick as their next head coach? This is a question that no fan base ever thought they would be asking themselves. And if they ever did, the answer would be obviously yes. But maybe when you take a bit of a closer look at Bill, back-to-back losing seasons for the first time in New England history since 1993, since Tom Brady went to Tampa Bay, 29-37, and he turned 72 years old in April. So I'm not quite sure how much energy and gas he has left in the tank to go on a Super Bowl run. And if you're the Falcons and you fire Arthur Smith to go get Bill Belichick, it is to go win a Super Bowl, right? So let me toss it your way. If you had to pick a head coach, who would it be? 2024, do you want Bill Belichick in Atlanta or Arthur Smith? I'm going to guess that majority of the responses are Bill Belichick, but Arthur Smith has done a better job this season coaching. Wouldn't you agree? Like, Bill Belichick and Arthur Smith have both dealt with subpar quarterback play. Mac Jones, Bailey Zappi, are they all that far off from Desmond Ridder and Taylor Heineke? No. And one team is still alive in Week 18, and one team has been eliminated for a long time now. So I'll nut up and I'll say it. I'm going to pass on Bill Belichick. And that might be something that gets clipped and goes viral in a few years if he wins another Super Bowl for the Carolina Panthers, and I am the laughingstock of Falcons YouTube. But I think quietly, on the inside, we're all thinking it. I don't know if Bill Belichick is still Bill Belichick anymore. So I'll say the quiet part out loud for you guys so you don't have to. I'm passing on Bill Belichick. Now, next up on the show, if we're talking about replacing Arthur Smith with Belichick, we should probably talk about how hot Arthur Smith's seat is. We've got some more news and rumors coming out regarding Art. But really quickly, today's show was made possible thanks to our friends over at Prize Picks. Now, what is Prize Picks? It's the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Instead of battling thousands of other players, including pros and sharks, you pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. With quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and stat types, Prize Picks is the #1 daily fantasy sports app. So, let me show you guys my Week 18 selections. I like the less on CJ Stroud, playoff game for a rookie QB essentially. I'm going to take the less there. I like the more on Drake London and Bijan Robinson. Arthur Smith definitely coaching for his job. I believe he will go to his star players early and often. And then I like the more on Jonathan Taylor. I like the Colts in the Saturday playoff game. So give me the running back for Indianapolis. I'll take the more on his rushing yards. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use code CLNS for a first-time deposit match up to $100. I love you guys, so I put that link in the comments and description of today's video to make it even easier on you all. Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy. Now, getting back to what we were just talking about, let's discuss Arthur Smith and just how hot his seat is. Because I want to remind you guys what his boss, Arthur Blank, had to say on Arthur Smith's future in Atlanta just a few short weeks ago, saying, "We are committed to Coach Smith. We are going to play these last 3 games. We are committed to win. We will let the season play out and go from there." Obviously, this has not been the kind of year we expected. You would hear that from Coach Smith. You would hear from our fans and our players. We understand that. We understand the challenges. At the end of the year, we will assess where we are and go from there. Well, if the year ends with the Falcons dropping 3 out of the last 4 games, that might mean Arthur Blank reassesses Arthur Smith. In fact, James Palmer, who is doing a YouTube video with NFL insider Mike Garafolo, had some pretty interesting things to share. As Garafolo said, "I believe Arthur Smith is on the shakiest of grounds in the NFC South." Yes, there's also 4 teams in the division, One's already fired their coach, and the other two are one win better. So that's not saying a whole lot by being on the shakiest of grounds when there's a 3-horse race and one horse is just one game behind their other two. Ultimately, if anyone is wondering if Week 18 will be the deciding factor if Arthur Smith returns in 2024, let me just say it right now. Week 18 should not decide Arthur Smith's fate. If the Falcons win Week 18 and somehow the Panthers beat the Bucs, a very lucky, I wouldn't even say loophole, but lucky break for the Falcons having an okay, mediocre season when the rest of the division was very bad, and that's what paved the way for them to make the playoffs, should not be something that goes, all right, that right there is the deciding factor. You've got 3 years of Arthur Smith pretty much in the books at this point. You know what you've got in him, and you can be optimistic that with better quarterback play, he'll be a much better head coach, and this team will win more games. But I don't want to put all of our eggs in Week 18's basket and have that be the end-all, be-all when deciding whether or not Smith returns. Now, Ian Rappaport and Tom Pelissero did a recent write-up on some of the head coaching buzz, and I wanted to share this with you guys. It would be a surprise if the Falcons moved on from Coach Arthur Smith, who is 21-28 over 3 seasons and enters Sunday's game at Chicago, so now 21-29, with playoff hopes alive. But owner Arthur Blank didn't close the door on changes in recent interviews, reiterating to The Athletic he was committed to Smith while adding, "We have 2 more games to go. Let's see what happens." Well, one of those 2 games is down, and it did not go well for Arthur Smith. So I think barring a pathetic, embarrassing, uninspiring Week 18 performance, all signs are pointing to Arthur Smith returning. Now, if Arthur Blank is head over heels in love with getting Bill Belichick, because let's face it, Arthur Blank probably knows he's getting up there. He's 81 years old. If he wants to see a Super Bowl and he thinks Bill Belichick can get that done quicker than Arthur Smith, maybe he does pull the plug on Arthur Smith, even if the Falcons were to win Week 18 and even the Bucs lost, they hosted a playoff game. If he truly feels Belichick gets him closer to a Super Bowl than Arthur Smith does, maybe he decides to just go rogue and move on from Smith to get Belichick if that's his dream. But I think if Arthur Smith comes out there and this team comes out there, plays hard, and win or lose, as long as they are competitive, and they showed Arthur Blank that Arthur Smith is a coach that keeps his guys dialed in all season long, even as things start to slip away at the end of the season, it appears that Arthur Smith will return in 2024. So let me know, is it win or you're fired for Arthur Smith on Sunday? I don't think you should decide the 2024 season based on Week 18 alone. We've got a big body of evidence. Every game should matter the same, right? And for Arthur Smith, I do not want to go win and you're coming back, even if we don't like you, or lose and we're done because of one loss in Week 18. To me, that seems like building a mountain out of one game. It's not the Super Bowl, it's Week 18. That's going to do it for us on today's show. Thanks so much for tuning in. Make sure to subscribe if you have not already. Help us beat Saints now in subscribers this week.